We turn to the Creighton Blue Jays. It is year 14 at the helm for Greg McDermott, who joins us now, fresh off of a Pittsburgh Steelers win this past Sunday. The AFC North is the best division in football.
It is. Just some fans act in a little bit more mature way than others. So, it's
subliminal.
Yeah. I tried to.
We act like we've been there before.
You have been there before, and your team's been there before in Omaha. And now you've got a group that is picked to finish second in the Big East and is a top 10 team. When you think about this year's team as opposed to last year's team, there are different pieces. How do you feel that you're different?
Well, 2 years ago, that the team last year that was picked in the preseason top 10, the year before was picked 8th or 9th in the Big East. So, dealing with those expectations was a little bit of a shock to their system. I think this group understands it better, takes it for what it is. Preseason predictions in this day and age with the transfer portal they're about as meaningless as they've ever been, because you just don't know how different rosters are going to develop with all the new pieces. But obviously we returned three really good players and great leaders, and that's put us in a position to look like we have a chance to be pretty good.
What's been the mindset off the court with these guys? Because you were so close there. You're making that push, you're making that run towards the Final Four. Now you have so much veteran experience coming back.
Yeah, I think it's coach speak. When we as coaches, I think players think it's coach speak when we talk about the value of one possession. I think those three guys, Trey and Baylor and Ryan, now understand that when I bring it up in practice, like it's real. There was a lot of possessions in that San Diego State game. Take the last one out of the game that we could have done a little bit better job offensively or defensively that could have impacted the outcome of the game. So I think that really has the attention of the leadership of our program, and they've been able to pass that on to the new guys in our program and some of the guys that are developing and growing as they've been in our program.
Coach, it's got to feel good for you to have three core leaders in Trey, Ryan, and Baylor back, knowing what to expect as you just described. My question is, how does your team change, or how much has it changed with Nembhard not being there? Do you see Baylor playing more at the one, or is that a committee thing, or how is that going to be?
Yeah, we brought in Stephen Ashworth from Utah State, and he had a great career there, led him to the NCAA tournament as their point guard. He and Trey will share ball handling duties a lot, but to your point, Baylor also can initiate offense. He can play in a ball screen. He can play in transition. And what's been really nice is all three of them understand how to play with the ball, but probably even more importantly, they all understand how to play without the ball. And Stephen Ashworth really understands if Baylor and Trey are in space or in action with Kalkbrenner, I've got to get to the right spot on the floor. And Ashworth shoots it so well, you have to respect him 6 feet behind the line. So, it has really worked organically, adding Ashworth to that group, and it's made for some pretty competitive practices.
I was going to ask you for the Big East hoops junkies that didn't see Ashworth play at Utah State, how would you compare his game to Nembhard? Would it be that deep range in stretching the D?
Yeah, I mean, his shooting numbers, obviously R2 shot the ball well for us, and especially in the NCAA tournament. But, Ashworth shot 45% from the three-point line and shoots it with a little bit more range. He's not going to get to the rim and do all the things. R2 was elite at being able to get to the rim and finish at the rim. And like Ryan, he had a very positive assist-to-turnover ratio. Stephen Ashworth has that as well. But I think probably the biggest difference is R2 was a point guard his whole life. And when he didn't have the ball, he was kind of always working his way back to get the ball.
Yeah.
Ashworth understands, I give it up, I get away, I may get it back, I may not, and I can let those other guys do what they do. So I think his ability to play off the ball is just probably a little bit more natural than Ryan Nembhard, who played point guard his whole life.
Mac, we talk about what's next and what's coming all the time. The fact is, Creighton University had been to an Elite Eight one other time, and it was when the NCAA tournament was very different.
Eight teams.
Yeah. They qualified. I guess my point is, we're often talking about, okay, can they make the Final Four now? Can they do this? Can they do that? How do you balance the appreciation factor of the history that this group this past year accomplished, putting that in perspective, while also balancing this thought of, hey, well, they're right back there, and you were the possession away.
Our focus every year has been on the Big East. And what do we have to do in the non-conference portion of our schedule to prepare ourselves for what's going to be a gauntlet in the Big East? And then how can we navigate all the different styles, all the great coaches, all the great venues, the great fan bases that we have to play in front of during those 20 games? And then hopefully can we be playing our best late February, early March as we move into the Big East tournament? If you can do all that, you're ready for anything you're going to see in the NCAA tournament. So, you know, we really, our focus is on the Big East Conference and that portion of our schedule. And then you just hope you don't lay an egg. You know, like we played maybe our worst game of the year against Xavier in the semifinals, semifinals of the Big East tournament. Xavier had a lot to do with that, but we just weren't clearly ourselves that day. And that happens a few times a year, and you just hope it doesn't happen at the NCAA tournament. But, you know, I think the focus on the Big East portion of your schedule and how important that is and how challenging that is to prepare for all those different styles really prepares you for anything that's going to come after.
Coach, I got to tell you, I've always respected you as much as every head coach in the country, but the way that you hit John between the eyes to temper his expectations for Cleveland Browns football, I have to tell you the respect level now is at a true Hall of Fame level and at another.
Well, I mean, sometimes honesty is the best policy.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes, you have enough is enough.
He needed that.
Yeah.
Again, we've never been there before. I tried to pay him a compliment on his win in Los Angeles, and yes, he hit me straight between the eyes.
There were a lot of fans out there in LA.
Yeah.
The place is rocking.
Well, there are no Rams fans in LA.
Thank you.
Every Rams.
It looked like you've made some new friends in Cleveland, though, in the dog pound. I mean,
I have.
I was impressed with some of the folks that, you know, were obviously enjoying it.
What do you think about his barking? What about his barking?
The barking, maybe it needs to go.
Greg McDermott, ladies and gentlemen. Let's send it over to
Coach.
Paul Frischner
Thanks, guys.
with Trey Alexander.